So my first full-time job was at a small startup called Black Bear Energy, and I had the opportunity to wear a lot of different hats as a startup. I got to learn what makes projects successful, what the finances of a solar project look like, and also what makes a project not successful. And so after my 5 years there, I definitely felt knowledgeable about the industry, and I also came out with the realization of how solar isn't perfect. Like there were some problems that I noted, and one of which was the compromise that comes with solar going on active farmland. And so I ended up starting Okovate in 2022 because I wanted to take this knowledge that I got from the solar industry and create resilience for the American farming industry.
Yeah, I'll also give a short introduction about myself. Erica did a great job already. I have a background in environmental engineering and agronomy, and I worked in agriculture for several years. But I also grew up on a small farm, and you may have thought what a weird name this guy has. Well, that is because that small farm was in the Netherlands. And I actually was never a fan of solar because in the Netherlands we're a very small country, very land limited, and farmers are always complaining about not having land access. So it didn't make sense to me that solar was developed on farmland and then that land would be taken out of production for 30 or 40 years. So throughout time, I started getting engaged with agrivoltaics more and more, and finally it really clicked for me that the solar development is not going to stop, but agrivoltaics is really the solution that helps farmers solve some of their issues. The biggest one being financial stability, while still being able to continue to farm on that land. And I will talk a little bit more about why that is such a big thing. Yes. So I was actually just at the NFU convention in Oklahoma City, and I just heard so many different problems and challenges that farmers are facing right now. One of them, of course, is increasing climate stress. It is expected that there will be up to 5 times more droughts by 2050. Of course, this depends on where you are, but climate stress is a thing. And all these challenges and pressures have led to increasing agricultural land loss in the US. Over 140,000 farms have been lost in the last 5 years, and these are mainly the smaller family farms that we all like so much. And that's because of increasing costs, fluctuating markets, also aging farmers. But it's important to notice that, the solar development is a real competitor of agricultural land use. It's not the biggest one. There's other forms of development that are taking up more farmland, but solar is one to consider. And it's expected that this solar on ag land will increase tenfold in the coming years up to 2050. And it's still in the figure here on the right, you can see a USDA graph that shows that it's still a small part of total US ag land. But the thing is that solar is often developed on the flattest land that is closer to the cities, which also happens to be often the good and productive agricultural land in the US. And I think that is really a missed opportunity. Traditional solar competes with the food system. Tenant farmers and farmers lose access to the land for a long time. And that farmland is also out of production. So that means that not only that it doesn't only affect the food coming from that farm, but it also affects the local agricultural economy. And one thing that a lot of people don't know is that these traditional solar farms also have an environmental impact. Often these farms use land grading. It reduces construction costs because if the ground is very flat, it's easier to construct, but it of course affects the topsoil. And also poor land management during these construction projects leads to erosion, as you can see in the picture on the right, and compaction. And finally, when these systems operate, they often maintain the grass at very short. They maintain the grass very short. They do frequent mowing and often use herbicides to keep other growth at bay.